It's 7 o'clock. Please join me with pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Franklin County Area Planning Commission meeting. Thank you all for showing up. Could you do roll call? Caitlin?
Bob Braun,
Present.
Christine Rains, Todd Rabel,
Present.
Daryl Kramer,
Present.
Rob C.,
Present.
Denny Brown,
Present.
Philip Wendell,
Present.
Jeff Wesley, and Caitlin Starworth is here.
Thank you. First order of business is the hearings. We have a continuation of number 121-72024-CU-02, which is a conditional use application for antenna without increasing the size of the tower or the footprint of the existing tower.
Should we do minutes first?
Oh, gosh. I think I forgot that. We need to do minutes. If you had a chance to read the minutes,
I have very good minutes, a lot to it. The only thing that I had for corrections, 3 misspellings. Get to the page, right bit part. First page, one, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line. First sentence, TES sheet should be TDS sheet. Just the letters are different. Technical data sheet is what that stands for. And then on 2 more paragraphs, first word in the paragraph is Todd Rabel. Last sentence, it says SIG is there around 15 feet between them. It should be 16. That's something that was referenced later on in the notes. And then on the second page, third word, SWPP, it should have 3 Ps, SWPPP. That's all I had.
any other additions or corrections? Yes.
I think under the 2025 board appointments, I believe that I was supposed to be appointed to fill the chair until board hears from Mount Carmel. Is that correct? Not Laurel? Mount Carmel next in line?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll move we accept the minutes with those changes.
We have a motion to accept the minutes with those corrections. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Okay, now we're back to the continuation of 121-72024-CU-01, which is for an antenna, and the antenna is a microwave antenna.
Caitlin, is that
This
What,
is,
what
oh,
road is that one on?
There's,
sorry, there's several. This one, the applicant who submitted this to me is Craig McGrew. And it is for Hamburg Road. Are they here today? I don't think they're here, Bob.
Say again?
I don't think the applicant is here.
Okay. So we will skip that. Next one is,
Is Craig McGrew here? Hi. We're on your hearing now, if you want to tell the board what you're doing. Right there.
okay, this one is for 1217224-CU-10.
Where is this one located?
Should be Hamburg Road.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Craig McGrew. I'm here representing T-Mobile. We're proposing to, as you said, on Hamburg Road, it's the cell tower address is 24081 Hamburger Road. It's on the north side of the property. And we are adding antennas to existing tower. It is a 250-foot tower. And we're proposing to put antennas at 200 feet. And we are not changing the size of the footprint, and we're not changing the size of the tower. I think,
Is that replacing an existing antenna?
no, it's just adding. Yeah. T-Mobile's not there right now.
So it's at, what is the height of the antenna?
The antennas that we're proposing will be at 200 feet. That'll be the center line, and the tower is 250 feet tall.
Caitlin, from our tech review meeting that we had, the notes that come back from that were Todd Rabel suggested the applicant obtain a letter from the FCC stating that the microwaves would not cause health issues in the surrounding area. Is that comment been sent to the applicant? And did you receive anything back regarding that?
That was that not for the Bentley Road one, or was that for both? Sorry.
This is the William Osterling, Pamela K. Keith McGrew, conditional use, King Family Trust.
If it was mentioned in the TAC, I probably emailed him the following day saying what the TAC said.
I believe that's relative to this case, if I'm not mistaken.
Craig, did you have a letter from an engineer stating that the microwaves would not cause harm to the neighboring properties?
No, I thought we resolved that through the emails when I thought that was taken care of.
Okay.
already. And we're actually,
I'll try to find the emails real quick.
okay. And there's federal law that says I'm not allowed to actually address the health concerns.
Okay,
I don't have that with me, but I can look it up and show
Okay.
you the.
Question that I would have, if you have one cell tower and you're putting an additional antenna,
Mhm.
one that didn't exist before, don't the microwaves have to go from one antenna to another?
You mean like from like the nearest T-Mobile tower?
Well, nearest, I can't answer that, but don't the communication between the microwaves have to be between two antennas?
It usually is, yes. Well, that would be the goal. So that when you're, like, if you're traveling, then you wouldn't, but that's why sometimes if they're not close enough, that's why sometimes you have like shortages or outages in your service.
But with the cell phone, I thought the purpose of this microwave antennas was to communicate from one antenna to the other so that you would, as you move from one cell to another, you wouldn't lose.
I'm sorry, the microwave is for that intent, but the antenna is not the same as the microwave though. So the microwave is for that intent, but I wasn't ready for that question, so I'm not an expert on that, but
Then would you explain what the purpose of the microwave antenna is?
I mean, the general purpose is to increase coverage. I don't,
That isn't an answer.
well, that is the answer. That's what they're there for. I can't say if there's another tower or another microwave that's close enough that they're going to connect to each other. I could find that out. But I wasn't aware that that's not something I've ever been asked for a co-location. So I'm not refusing to answer. I don't have the answer because I don't know where the nearest microwave or the nearest tower is for T-Mobile that they would connect. I would have brought that if I would have known that was going to be the question, but I haven't been asked that before.
Caitlin, isn't the application that's in front of us to upgrade equipment that's on the tower already? Or is it for adding new equipment to the tower that
It's
wasn't
a
there before?
antenna co-location. Is what I received it as.
I'm not sure if we're not discussing application one. You guys are looking at right.
Yeah, I think there's 3 cell tower applications, right?
You're
On-
on 3 of them?
No, I was just saying there were 3 on the agenda, so.
Yeah.
Correct. And on the first page, the project summary says install 3 sector frames, 6 antennas, 6 radios, 2 hybrid cables, 2 hybrid canisters, and 10 crossover clamps and steel pipes.
Rob?
That's the only tower work, so it's not,
If I'm recalling the conversation Craig and I had correctly, I don't believe microwaves they're not a part of the application, correct? So no letter regarding
Correct.
microwaves was necessary for Craig's application, I believe.
This is application 1, which is not involving microwaves. I think
Okay.
so that's why he's, to save him. a
that's
little
why I
bit,
wasn't
think
ready
that's
for
why he's
microwave question.
Feeling caught off guard a little bit.
Right.
His is just he's not extending a tower size or anything. He's adding new antennas, not microwave antennas.
Oh. Okay,
So,
Yeah.
so I received an email from Caitlin that came from Jeff, our board attorney. And one of the things that it talks about is a state code. And I think that's very applicable to what we're dealing with here. So
I'm sorry, I'm just
has
asking.
everybody from our board read that email? Do they understand those 5 bullet points? Actually, it's 6. What the state code says that we have to do.
Jeff, can you enlighten us, everyone here, on what we can or cannot do? I think probably the audience here is
'Cause
out in left field on this.
And I want to be careful because this is something we could litigate later, so I don't want to maybe disclose it all, but we are tied on some levels to, if they meet state requirements, we can't reject certain things. I'm not saying we can't reject and we don't have control over all towers. I'm just telling you that there, as in that contained in that email, there are certain things that once they meet state code, we don't have as much of a say as maybe you have always used in the past as far as permitting towers. Now, it doesn't sound like they're trying to force that down your throats at this point in time. That's why I don't want to get into it too much, but we are limited somewhat on how we allow cell tower use by state code. Is that somewhat clear?
And-
Yes, somewhat clear. I just want to know, or I want everyone to know what we can or cannot do, because the last sheet that we got from you basically on this one tower, I don't even know which one it was. Basically, everything they were doing, we had no control over at all. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% willing to concede that, but
Okay,
yes, that there is a very strong argument for that.
Okay.
Yes.
so we can move forward then? I mean, in other words, if it's just an argument, it's not in stone. So we can bring this up as far as the board's concerned and address it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So from what I see in the letter from the applicant, SMJI International, dated December 30th, 2024, says that they will not extend the height of the structure, will not expand the existing fenced compound, will not add any lighting to the tower, and will not change the existing use of the wireless communication tower. So they're just asking to make some modifications with the antennas. This one, subject cell tower microwave addition. If I'm on the right case here.
Yep.
No, this is,
That's for Smith Road.
that's the wrong one. My bad.
But the FCC guidelines still apply the same. It's my understanding, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, if it doesn't constitute what the FCC considers to be a substantial modification, then the board really shouldn't be denying it.
I would agree with that. The specific language is a modification that substantially changes the physical dimensions of a wireless tower or base station. You're not expanding that dimensions whatsoever, correct?
Correct. We're staying inside the compound and staying on the same tower size.
That I only see two things that we can really do. We can area planning can control the location. We already got a tower there, so we want to have as many of the antennas on the same tower and not have multiple towers. And I think that's one thing he's asking. The other thing, I think, number 15, 80.06.08, number 15, an engineering certificate indicating the structure is within acceptable engineering standards and safety requirements that the site is on and on. Basically, that means that we need to have an engineer stamp that's saying the tower can hold your new antenna.
Mhm.
And I think that's the only two issues that we have here. And I think the location is, we want to have it on that tower if we need an antenna. And the other thing we could ask them for or make a condition is that they show us an engineer stamp on a plan that says the tower can hold the weight.
Yep. Can I address that?
Yes.
That usually happens during the building permit application, just so we always provide a structural with the building permit application.
So
So we could grant it
we can grant it on the condition that
on her before she issues a permit, she gets that stamp.
all she has to do is see the engineer's stamp on the plan. She doesn't have to go through the plan and try to re-engineer it. An engineer's stamp would be fine. Unless somebody else can see some other issues with this particular tower.
The only thing in my mind, and what making so many people nervous is the microwave stuff. So is there any way of testing that when it's up to prove to the public that this is within standards adequate? I know it's not part of something I don't think we can enforce, but I think it would ease the minds of everybody if we could get that accomplished. So is that doable, or is that not something that can be done?
Brian, am I correct? We're not adding microwaves. Isn't that the other application that's adding microwaves? So I would be speaking for a different applicant. Correct.
I apologize. I
Okay.
got you mixed up.
There aren't usually more than one tower application at a time. I saw there were three.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, so.
I'd like to add something to what Daryl was saying also. It's not in the code, but it would be nice down the road if we had validation of what actually happened on these towers. We're taking for granted, somebody comes in and says, well, they're going to do this, that, blah, blah, blah. But how do we know when they're done what actually got done?
Has anybody got any other issues before I make a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll move that let's see, do I give a favorable recommendation for this conditional use?
Yes.
BZA.
I move that we give a favorable recommendation for this conditional use with the stipulation that there's a stamp on, an engineer stamp on the plans that she has
Prior to her issuing the permit.
prior to her issuing the permit. She may already have that. I don't know.
We have a motion. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Been regularly moved in second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for the mix-up.
That's okay.
Okay, the next order of business is new. It's petition to rezone from A2 to R3. Application for rezoning property.
Still have two more cell tower.
They're across. Oh, this one. Continuation of 121-27024-CU-01 conditional use application for cell tower microwave addition, King Family Trust owner and Emily Bauer applicant.
Hi, my name's Jenny Chapman. I'm here.
Caitlin, is this the one on Bentley Road? I can't be here.
Oh, okay.
Daryl has to leave the group. Go ahead.
So my name's Jenny Chapman. I'm here for Emily and I'm here representing T-Mobile for the microwave addition. I was here last month and we tabled, the proposal was tabled for more information. And I know one of the things that came up was are there any other microwaves in the county? And so we did research on that and we found 9 towers with microwaves that are already, that have been there for a while, that are already there. And I think Emily sent a map of those, but I have a map if you want to see where they are. I have enough copies for the map. If you wanted to see. And then as far as some of the other questions that came up last month about the safety, T-Mobile is in compliance with the FCC regulations for any equipment that they put up. So that, it's in compliance with what the FCC requires.
So for what you're doing, this is, I guess, my question for the previous gentleman. Is this going to replace an existing antenna?
No, it's new.
And last week or last month, rather, you said that when fiber optics became available, you would use that instead of the microwave?
That's why the antennas that's why the microwaves are put up, but we have no way of knowing when that would be. That's why they use the microwaves so that there's coverage. Because that's not in our control, it's someone else.
But when there is
Then
fiber in the area, that you would decommission the microwaves?
that's normally what happens, but I mean, I don't have any guarantee that that's what would happen. But that's what I've seen on other projects.
And the other thing that came up last month was the height. I believe yours was at 100 feet
Yeah, I think it's 120. The microwave.
and it's a 300-foot tower.
Well, I don't, that's just done by the engineer. The RF engineer designs that. There's other equipment on the tower. So that's what, they came up with as far as the height.
Do you have any additional information for this board?
I know one of the other questions was the size of the compound versus what T-Mobile is using. And T-Mobile just has, I believe, like 10 by 10 space inside the compound. So they're not using the entire compound. And the compound isn't increasing in size and there's no increase in height to the tower.
That's shown on the plan that I'm seeing here, where that location is.
But you can't tell us if and when fiber optics come by that tower, that they would switch.
I don't know what would happen. I mean, I don't know what would happen in the future. That's just what I've seen on other projects. They'll call it a temporary microwave and then that's what they'll do. But I mean, I don't know that that's what's going to happen here. I mean, I can't guarantee that.
Anyone from the audience want to speak?
My name is Mary Jo Clark, and I'm a resident of Bentley Road.
I'm Dan Clark, Bentley Road as well.
My name is Bruce Kaiser. I'm president of Bentley Road. My house is 500 feet from this tower. And the neighbor across the street, their house is 320 feet from the tower. So my question is, how safe is it to live that close to a microwave? Anything I've read from the state of Indiana says you should live a quarter of a mile from it. Now, federal guidelines don't say anything about it, but that's my question.
You have documentation to provide us with it, where you got that it says a quarter mile?
I just Googled it. I don't have no documentation with me, but to me, that should be your guys' job.
And I found something, if I may, and this may take some of the heat off of here, and let me read this just so you guys can understand. The Federal Communications Commission, there's a mandate that says that state and local governments must approve any eligible facilities requests for the modification of an existing wireless tower or base station that does not substantially change the physical dimensions of such tower or base station. So part of, and I think this is important for you guys to hear, in my opinion, reading the law, federal statutes, we are hamstrung in what we can and cannot do with existing towers. One, we're responsible for the location, as Mr. Kramer eloquently stated, which this is already that location, right? There is nothing that, unless they're changing the size of this tower, we don't have a lot of power to listen to health concerns. Well, what's effectively happened is the federal government has said these microwave towers are safe. And we're not up here. I can't guide them and allow them to make that health component. I don't think we have the right to be able to make that decision under the law. Whether or not we believe in that or not. I know that you have sympathy on this board with these things. But having said that, I don't know, because we've had a lot of email exchanges, I don't know that they have the authority to take that into account when it's already been by federal and state law effectively considered safe and permitted. So as long as they are able to do it under federal law dictates to us that we don't get to have a lot of say in modifications of these towers. Their power is choosing the location of the towers. But once the location's decided and many years later they're modified, they don't have a lot of power in changing and arguing what is effective.
Well, I understand that, but my understanding, my house was there probably 10 years before the tower ever was. And if you guys don't have no say so, why are they coming here for an application? If you can't do anything about it, they might as well just go ahead and do it.
Because they have to prove to us that they're not changing the size of the tower.
I don't care what they put on the tower, if it doesn't create a hazard. I just don't want my family or my grandkids to get cancer or anything from it because it's too close. Now, I had no choice in where the tower went. It just grew on its own back probably about 1990 or something, and nobody knew a thing about it or what it was for. It just, I'm sure the property owner at the time did, but that wasn't made public to anybody at the time. And my disagreement is if they keep adding stuff, somebody's got the power to see what goes on it and how it works. I mean, like Todd brought up, can somebody test it and see what it puts out so we know if it's safe or not? I mean, that's just my question. And thank you for listening to me.
Okay, so then what you do have the authority is to follow the rules that you have set, your guidelines and your procedures. And we don't believe that the procedures were properly followed. Maybe eventually they will be, but for right now, one of the neighboring properties touching it, owning the Troy Bolster, did not get the certified letter about it. He heard from word of mouth from us, but that's not following your procedures.
I can explain that. Our director reached out to me today regarding that. I'm the county surveyor, by the way, and Rob Sig. Caitlin was utilizing the GIS, and you go to the GIS and you look at the parceling. That parcel, as it's shown on the GIS, does not touch the road to the west. However, she's got to rely on that, assume that's correct. It's not correct on the GIS. So that's how we do our adjacent property owners and try to identify who those people are. So there are errors in our system. So it wasn't intentional. There's public notice in the paper. Anybody that gets the paper can get notified that way. That's why we do that in case somebody's missed. But it is intention to get everybody notified by certified mail. In this case, we couldn't help that. So Caitlin pulled the deed. I reviewed the deed. The deed did go to the road. However, I found a survey that had some ambiguity in it too. Kind of looked like maybe the parcel didn't go to the road, but as you read the deed, it does. So can't really say for certain, but it wasn't intentional.
So then does that mean there should be a continuance until next month until he's notified properly?
That's to our board attorney to weigh in on that. I don't really know.
He legally should have been, he's an adjoining property owner.
Yeah, if you look on our GIS, he's not shown as an adjoining property owner, so there's no way of knowing without pulling deeds. But I got a phone call from Bruce today saying that he wasn't notified and he owns the driveway that appears to be Bruce's on the GIS.
So
So it wasn't intentional. It
If
just
you-
didn't
if you
show
really-
up that way.
come down to it, it wasn't intentional. You'd have to review every single deed to see if there's true contiguous ownership, and that's not typical process for notification.
No, my only concern is once there's a complaint, I mean.
Right. So
The
that's why,
complaint, we're a complaint driven world on some levels, especially with area planning. So I would have a problem if there was litigation about it and then he wasn't served, wasn't given notice, even though he was a properly noticed person. Needed to be.
so you're saying Caitlin needs to send a certified mail, even though they've been notified?
Problem I have is we're essentially stating that he has been notified. That's the whole
That
argument.
is word of mouth. It's not in written form.
Understood. They had conversation about it, but yes.
You talked to him individually?
No, he never
Oh,
called.
okay. I was mistaken.
I just talked to Bruce. Bruce told me about it today.
So the letter's in order. I think probably continuation needs to happen again.
That would
If
be
you
my
want to follow it
recommendation.
by the book.
And make sure we get him notice.
Okay, so then my other question is, you have to have a building permit, you have to have whatever permits to do anything to this property. And my dad has seen them working on it, doing something. Have they filed any of these permits to do what they've already done the past couple of months?
They don't receive a building permit unless the building and the zoning permits go hand in hand. So they wouldn't get that until they get one from us. I believe maybe you can answer this. Emily, I know is listening. Maybe she can text me her response to this. But I believe it's Verizon or some other company that's doing things over there. I don't think it's T-Mobile at all.
So someone else is doing something illegally to this tower without having the permit that they should have got from you guys.
No, a cell tower is routinely worked on. A cell tower is routinely, they are able to go up there. There might be 15 different entities that are on that cell tower that are allowed to go up there and monitor their equipment and rearrange their equipment, work on their equipment without needing to come before the board.
There is a pad poured. There's some, they're adding on to things. They're not just,
They're adding on, what did
they're
you
adding,
say?
did you have anybody inspect the pad?
Like cement?
Cement
You're
pad?
saying they've added to the pad?
Yes.
I don't know, but when Bruce mentioned it to me earlier, I asked them. Please. I asked them and they said it wasn't them, it was someone else. It's not T-Mobile. Emily just responded, said, I'm not aware of anyone working on the tower. We are just working with T-Mobile. Cell towers have multiple carriers on them.
Okay, if you're ready. The last 2 weeks of December, before we ever got the letters, so we didn't know what was going on. There was 2 trucks up there working. Then there was a concrete truck up there, and I think what they did, they added a standby generator. And the only reason I know this is last week, a guy came to my house and asked if he could have me pull him out because he was stuck up there. So I asked him who he was with, and he said he was there to do a test on a standby generator for AT&T. But you can see what they built. It's a pretty good size generator. I mean, it's probably 10 feet long. I don't know how many kW it is, but it's a pretty good sized generator. And then there's a roof over it, and they constructed all that. They worked till about 8:30 every night. That's why I know they were up there, because it was dark. I'm thinking, well, sure working late, close to Christmas, you know? I mean, but that's what they were doing. I have no idea who they were. The owner of the property was concerned about it, and she told me she went up to talk to him. But she didn't get much information out of him. So partly it was a language barrier, and that's all I know about that. So it'd be my guess they poured a pad for a generator. But why do they get away with doing that stuff without a permit? I mean, you gotta have a permit to pour concrete on anything else if you're building a house. I mean, it should be inspected for the right reasons. I mean, that's why you're all here. In my opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. That's all I've got to say. I'm done with this now, so thank you.
So what is preventing, why in the hell is there not fiber optic? You got some places not down that area. Why is there not fiber optic? What's going on? Okay, so why can't you guys prevent them from putting a microwave tower in if there's gonna be fiber optic lines? I'd rather have Starlink. I will install Starlink if I have to. I'm quite capable of that. There's no reason to have a microwave tower. If you're telling me there's gonna be fiber optic line in the future, then why the hell are we talking about a microwave tower right now?
We don't control fiber optic lines where they ran, so.
So
If-
can you
if we
guys
do-
not, can you say, sorry, we're not gonna do that? Because there will be fiber optic soon. And there are other forms, Starlink being one of those that are quite capable.
If we had any power over where the fiber optics go, I would have fiber optics, but I don't. So
But you could do Starlink.
that would be a possibility.
No, it's not a possibility. It's a reality.
Well, thank you. there any other comments?
And yeah, I have one. You're the surveyor.
Yes.
Do you have a cell tower on your property?
Hey,
No.
hey, wait, so, well, I'm gonna stop this right now, okay? You're here and you're allowed to give your public comments. You are not here and allowed to attack members or ask questions like that. That was, in my opinion, not a friendly question.
I know there is at least one, and I know damn well there is one.
Part of my job is to make sure that this is a civil meeting.
That's fantastic. Good for
Very
you.
civil.
Good
This
for you.
board is full of gentlemen. I promise it's gonna be remain that way, okay?
Hopefully none of you have a cell tower on your property, because otherwise you're self-serving as hell. And I know there's somebody in here that does, or is gonna have.
I'd like to know what we can do. Back to square one again. What can we do as far as this application is concerned? If there's anything at all, then let's go that avenue. If there's nothing at all, then we have to go that avenue. We're beating this can down the road here and nobody's being satisfied by what's being said.
You are restricted by a sign of showing that there has been a substantial change in
Meaning,
size.
meaning substantial change in size?
In size.
Okay.
Do you mind if I read the 6 criteria?
Yeah.
All right, this is from an email that we received from Jeff. Section 409, and it's part of the FCC code. It says, the Federal Communications FCC has determined that the modification substantially changes the physical dimensions of a wireless tower or base station under 47 USC 1455A if it meets one of the 6 enumerated criteria. Number 1, the modification increases the height of the tower more than 10%, or the height of one additional antenna array with separation from the nearest existing antenna not to exceed 20 feet, whichever is greater. Number 2, modification involves adding appurtenance to the body of the tower that would protrude from the edge of the tower more than 20 feet or more than the width of the tower structure at the level of the appurtenance, whichever is greater. Number 3, modification involves installation of more than the standard number of new equipment cabinets for the technology involved, but not to exceed 4 cabinets. Number 4, modification entails any excavation outside of the current site by more than 30 feet in any direction. Number 5, the modification does defeat the concealment elements of eligible support structure. Number 6, the modification does not comply with the conditions associated with the siting approval of the construction or modification of eligible support structure or base station equipment. So basically the way I read that is if the request doesn't go outside of those parameters, we almost have to approve. Our code doesn't say anything about whether or not a microwave is allowed or not. If it said microwave wasn't allowed, we could do something about that, but it doesn't. So this application, in my mind, it was in perfectly good order, other than the fact that we don't have a certified mailing out to adjacent landowner. And that might be the case with some of the other ones that we're going to talk about tonight as well. So you got to keep these things in mind when you're making your vote tonight.
I'd like to add to that the rest of this also. Down below that, it says, can you explain what parts of our scope of work is considered substantial change per Franklin County? Number 1, remove microwave dish. Number 2, ODU. Number 3, coax cable. Install microwave dish. Install ODU, power cable, or fiber cable. Now, under those, this is a substantial change by Franklin County. But can we do anything about it, according to FCC? If we can't, I don't want, I'm for the taxpayers for Franklin County, but I don't want them to go away tonight thinking we're just sitting on our butt doing nothing. That's my problem. If we can do nothing, then it's the FCC. If we can do anything, then we need to try to go down that road. Okay.
Well, I'd just like to make the comment that I realize that the health issue is out of the scope of our authority, but I am very disappointed since we had citizens last month come with definite health concerns that the applicant did make no effort to give technical information that could ease their concerns about the health. Now, I think we all received from Caitlin the email about a lot of things. I learned a lot about radioactive, or it's not radioactive, electromagnetic radiation.
Correct.
And I would just make the one comment is that the microwaves are very much different than the gamma rays and X-rays. Microwaves are not ionization. That means the waves like X-rays and gamma rays can cause your tissues inside your body to heat up. Now, I know microwaves heat up meat in a microwave, but that's right there, a foot. The farther you get away from the source of the microwave radiation, the field weakens drastically. That's why these things are put up high as they are. But again, I'm just disappointed that I had to give that information rather than the applicant. So thank you.
Thank you for that comment. What is at this point, what are our options?
Thought there was a thought to continue this so we can get all the proper entities. So
Continue is one to, I guess, by federal law, we don't have the right to deny this long-term.
unless we make an argument that there's been some change to one of those 6 factors.
Do all the surrounding home property owners have to be notified if we have no control over it?
I think so, because they still have to come before us, because they have to show that there's not a change in any one of those 6 factors.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
From the information that's been presented, I do not see anything outside of those 6 factors that were explained that I read. In my opinion, I don't think there is.
I make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting till we get all the notifications received.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We continue this. I would ask that you come back with some better information next time. A lot more. A lot more.
I guess one of the things, like I said earlier, and I thought it was this case, but as far as testing, once it's in, is there any way of testing what frequencies are at ground level? Can that be done? Can you find that out for me to whether, see if somebody can't test it maybe before it's fired up and after it's fired up, just to ease. If we can't control it, maybe we can at least ease some minds of what's going on.
I can find that out.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been regularly moved and seconded. Are there any additional discussion? All in favor of continuing, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It's continued. Thank you. Caitlin, do we have any more tower stuff?
No, the other one was canceled due to 6409 of the FCC rules.
So that one doesn't,
The rules we've been referring to all night.
yeah.
Yes.
So then we don't have to notify neighbors or anything then in that case?
No.
Okay. So that Next order of business is the rezoning.
I have to recuse myself from this one.
Okay. And Daryl's back. So this would be 01222024 dash RZ dash 01. It's a petition for rezoning from A2 to R3. Application to rezone the property from secondary agriculture to multifamily residential for the reduction of side requirements.
Hello, name's Gunnar Sig. I'm with Sig Surveying, representing the Gunnar, Hurst, and Beard family tonight that live on this property and own third ownership of all of this property. So we're asking for a rezone from A2 to R3, which is an adjoining property and adjoining in New Trenton. It's the reason why we're going to R3. And the whole reason for that is so we can split up from third interest into 100% interest for each of the three people that live here or own this property. So right now, the way it is with A2, we can't split more than 1 acre minimum. R3 will allow us to go down to 10,000 square feet, which would be adequate to make this property within compliance, because right now it's out of compliance with code, having 3 houses on one property. So the reason why this is like this is because back in 1977, there was a variance granted giving them the ability to even have this. And when they were granted that variance, they were supposed to be coming back to the APC every year to continue that, to let them be even able to do that. And since then, they've never came back to the board asking for the approval to do that. So right now, we're just trying to make them within compliance and be able to split this property up into the third interest of what it actually is supposed to be. So if you guys have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer.
So this new parcel has a soil test done and a new septic
Yes.
site approved on it.
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
Do these two things go hand in hand? In other words, a rezone and also a variance?
So the reason why we're getting the rezone first is so we can split the property. The reason why we have to ask for a variance is because the Gunter family that lives in this most northerly house here, in order to split that property and keep all of their house and what they own on one parcel, it would be less than 10,000 square feet. So the variance would be asking for the split to be less than 10,000 square feet in order to keep all of what's theirs on one property and not take over any of the Beard family in the middle there.
The reason I'm asking this is because if you, as it states here, you want to keep it R3, so this would not be spot zoning, which is fine.
Mhm.
However, R3 is 10,000 square feet. So basically you want two things. In other words, what I'm trying to say is if you don't get the variance, then changing to A2 to R3 makes no difference, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
I just personally think we're setting up a precedence doing something like that, but that's just my opinion.
Well, the whole reason for this is just to get their property into compliance, because right now, nothing's complying with the code as it is. We're just trying to fix the prior sin of what they've done without getting permits from the board. Have 3 houses here. So we can't control where they built back then. It's just where we can put it.
I see you got, 3 buildings that they say they're gonna raise. Um, how are we gonna know that that's done in a reasonable amount of time?
Well, I
Uh,
can't control when they do
Yeah.
or when they tear
Um,
that down, but I know for sure in order to do that split, that garage will be. But the 2 buildings to the south, I'm not too sure about that, and that it really wouldn't affect what we're doing here.
mhm. Where the split line is, the distance between that line and the garage that they want to keep, how far is that?
I believe we have 6 feet separation between the garage that they're keeping and that split line. Yeah, that's what it is there.
Sorry to get in the middle of this and then change horses. Do we have all our notifications in order?
Yes, they did notify all the adjacent
Okay,
lands.
sorry about that.
You're good.
So we need a variance then too for side setback?
The side setbacks is 6 feet in an R3 zone.
Is it 6 feet in an R3?
Yeah,
On
Okay.
septic, yes.
And we're 6 feet from the trailer then too, at least?
yes.
That's close.
It's
Okay.
it's right at it for the garage setback. And that actually falls right on the edge of their driveway the way it is. Gets into it a little bit.
I see they got at least 3 encroachments. Um, do they have any statement about the 3 encroachments?
Well, we surveyed this property a few years ago now, and we just did another survey up on the Gunner property where the Gunner house is up to the north. And they were able to fix some of the encroachments with the fire department there. And that's why there's a small cutout, and that's what they agreed on. The fire department agreed to give to them. So that fixed those encroachments on the sides. We can't control how much they give to them. That's just what it is, what it is. The stuff to the south, we've addressed it and everybody's aware of those encroachments. So that'd be my answer to that.
Is there anybody from the public wanted to ask, talk?
Is this all in one motion?
I guess the biggest piece of property that has the trailer, there will be no other houses or anything on that property?
I'm not sure what their plan is right now. I know the main goal is to get it to R3 in order for them to be able to split up their interest to 100% Beard, Gunter, and Hearst. So I'm not sure if they're gonna build or not. That's not anything I'm aware of at this point.
Okay, okay, there's only one living.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure from the people that were granted that variance from 1977, I don't think any of them are around at this point.
Okay,
But if this other parcel was split, it would comply with the
Yeah,
square footage on those.
Yeah,
two,
it
so
would
that's not an
comply.
issue.
yes. The R3 would allow them to be able to put that line, as long as we have a 10,000 square foot minimum on there. Which we've talked with them already, and I know they've already agreed on a line, but we just haven't done that survey work in order to create that split yet.
Got somebody?
Thank you. I'm Ken Onestroth with Harrison Sand and Gravel, the neighbor to the west and the south of this property here. I got some questions. First of all, on procedure, does the Plan Commission recommend the change in zoning to the commissioners and the commissioners have the final say? Okay, so you're just would make a recommendation or lack of, or that's your role, and the commissioners make the final decision.
Yes.
Okay, if the reason for the zoning is to reduce the size of the lot, then the first thing they're asking for is to reduce it again. I fear that this will be snowball into many different variances because the side and front and maybe even the backyard setbacks for that small parcel are not going to be in compliance. I think that the front yard is supposed to be 25 feet and from the property line, and I think that would stretch it. And then the septic tank or septic system in a small area may be unusual. Also that I asked a question, is there any other lot in New Trenton with a dwelling on this size or smaller? So that if you once give variances for small lots, it's hard to go back and deny somebody else in the future. Also, in talking to, is this Ms. Beard here? We had negotiated to for those encumbrances, and then she declined to accept my offer. So we are aware of that, and that needs to be addressed. But she indicated to me that she wanted to further subdivide this parcel so that there's some other things in the plans here that are not quite presented here tonight that may require more variances. So what my recommendation or my input would be, if you rezone here, you're going to open up a can of worms for future variances. And the original hardship from 1977 that wasn't followed through with, and all those people that were in or had the hardship back then are long gone. So the hardship exemption probably should have lapsed 20, 30 years ago for having more than one dwelling on the parcel. So that's my concerns.
Thank you.
So his concerns aren't really.
Please state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry Beard.
Thank you.
His concerns about possibly not being able to meet future variances on the split really are not issues because there's plenty of room for setbacks to meet the R3 parameters. We are hoping to straighten everything up. The old timers left us quite a mess. They never did fix anything, and as far as separating the properties properly, and it was essentially left to the three sons, and we are trying to fix it to be able to move forward, and we do plan on hope to be able to build 2 more properties there and address all the setbacks in the future, and not too distant future. It won't be 50 years. So there's plenty of room for setbacks to be able to follow that. And as far as the partial part he was concerned about, there was a question about the boundary line on the rear, on the west end of the property that adjoins with his. And there was a sliver that we kind of not argued about, but questioned, and made him an offer to just try to fix it to where it was. And we didn't accept the offer just because it's not really that big of an issue. We still can meet setbacks without any type of restriction towards him, towards his property, the gravel pit. So I just wanted to let you know, there's no issues with being able to set that in the future.
Thank you.
If there's any other questions on. Okay.
A procedural question, would that subdividing it again be a subdivision? If it was an R3 rather than A2?
If there are two or more contiguous lots that share road frontage owned by the same person, it constitutes a subdivision. If the same person didn't own those lots, it wouldn't be a subdivision.
Can you read me or tell me that definition of a subdivision again?
5 lots sharing one drive, 5 or more, is a subdivision. And then 2 lots that are at least an acre sharing road frontage owned by the same person would be a subdivision. If it was shared between family members, there's a family exemption. I'm not reading directly out of the zoning code, but I can look it up for you and read it directly to you if you'd like. It is in section 8010 subdivisions. The definition of a subdivision, 6 or more home sites on any one private lane. I think I misspoke earlier and I said 5, my apologies. 2 or more contiguous lots, each of 2 acres or less, and both with their own access and own frontage on a public road. And then, of course, there is the family exemption.
And this property is all the same family, so it would fall in that exemption. Just so you know that it wouldn't be considered a subdivision because of that.
Could I ask, what is the family relationship, brother, sister, cousins?
I will read it to you. I know in here it says sanguinity. I believe we went over it when you were in my office the other day. Let me find real quick. For purposes of the chapter, family shall be defined as transfers made solely to any combination of a spouse or an individual in the lineal line of consanguinity of at least one of the transferors. And this property is owned by three, is that right? 3 people? So at least one of them has to be family. And I did check this before we came to the hearing, so it's okay.
So we can put the subdivision issue aside, but we still have issues with encroachment that need to be taken care of. And there's also a setback on a building that's already there, but I assume that that was there since 1977, as best I can tell. So there's nothing we can do about that, but the encroachment thing is an issue. And that's between those two parties to solve. We also, they have a building listed there that's unlivable house to be raised. And then you've got a trailer on the same one, so are we to understand that that will be done? And how do I determine that it is done?
Is it an agreement that it will be done due to it being part of the application? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, this kind of solves part of the problem with so many houses on one lot, but we still have 2 houses on one of the lots when it's done, until that one is tore down. We have encroachment problems that I would really like to see solved before anything is done. And we're asking for a rezone and a variance for smaller than allowed lot.
The only request to this board is the reason.
Is the rezone.
Mm-hmm.
The variance would go to the BZA. So there's a total of how many acres there? Is there 2 acres there total? You got 8,400 square feet plus 1.4
It's
acres.
around 1.6 acres that's there right now, and that's with the acreage they got from the fire department. So in order to make any of this compliant, they can't do it with an A2 zone. In order to do, because there's not 3 acres there, they can't all get 1 acre. The encroachments there's nothing we can do about that. Changing it to R3 zones, not going to change any of that. And none of it's getting transferred yet with title. All 3 people are going to remain with the title of this property no matter what. So we're just trying to get the third interest, all what they think they own or what they want on this property. Or
And
else it's just anyone can do anything with any part of the property because it's just 1/3 right now for the whole 1.6 acres.
and it cleans up a violation with two
Yeah.
dwellings on one parcel.
Mhm.
What do you guys think?
I personally think it cleans up something that should have been cleaned up a long time ago. I mean, the other option is to tear a building down if you're in violation, one of the two.
Well, if that's gonna happen anyway, why not tear the building down and then
No, it would be a non-conforming use at this point. It wouldn't be anything where you would where you could force them to tear it down. It would be a non-conforming use, which means that you would have to try to make it a conforming use at some point in the future. I personally thought this one was going to be an easy one.
I did too.
Um, what do you think, Denny?
I stated what I thought before. The only reason they want to rezone this is simply for a variance on top of it. It's useless to them to rezone it if they don't get the variance. So in my opinion, you have to put both them together.
Well, for this board though, our only question is do we want to allow it be R3 instead of A2? That's what our question is right here at this time.
I mean, R3 is right aside of it, so it's not like we're spot zoning something. R3 is all around it. They're not all around it, but right aside of it.
But you're going to be spot zoning if you get a variance, it won't any longer be R3 as it is. The rest of those are R3. That's my point. I have no problem with the zoning end of it. It's the final picture.
Is that the Dollar General store that's in A2 there?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that all the residential area of the town, that's all R3. And then I believe unless Dollar General was rezoned for the purpose of being a Dollar General to business, which is possible. I can look it up real quick.
A2, yeah. Well. we
The
gotta make a
Dollar
decision.
General is zoned A2. Sorry, Daryl. Dollar General is zoned A2.
So that would be kind of a buffer to keep R3 from continuing down that way. We got,
Isn't the gravel pit gravel down?
they're just on the other side of the county line there,
Yeah.
even though Harrison Sand and Gravel, I believe, owns that ground there, I believe. That's what I saw.
Yes, we own it around the general dollar store.
Yeah.
It's just not showing up. I kind of thought I remembered hearing about them rezoning it when they had their hearing, so I'll go back and change it. If it is rezoned, is it local business or general business? Okay.
It seems like they would have done something there. I wasn't on the board then.
I do, but I don't.
It's really likely it would be general business then.
Mhm. Seven.
Gentlemen, do you want to continue this?
Yep, or in the non-conforming uses. 8007B, no building erected on non-conforming use premises. No building shall be erected upon any premises devoted to a non-conforming use, except in conformance with the provisions of this code. That really doesn't apply exactly either, like I thought. What is the minimum building lot in A2?
1 acre if it's on septic.
1 acre on septics. Can we not grant the whole, can we make a recommendation for just part of this to be rezoned to R3? Or the way it's worded, do we have to rezone the whole thing? In other words, what I'm thinking of is rezone the little triangle up there that they want to cut off and not rezone the rest of it. No, I can't split the
Do you know how
baby.
many times we see that and if we shake our head at why that happened in the past?
Okay, I can't split
One,
the
you're saying
baby.
you wanted one parcel to be two different zones? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, okay. Until they split the parcels, I can't do that, can I?
No, I wouldn't do that until.
It appears we have let's see, five voting members on this tonight. Is that correct? Since we're kind of at a standstill, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this.
It's been moved that we continue this. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah. I don't know that there's going to be any additional information that comes forward, nor we're just kicking this can down the road. As difficult as what this thing is. I mean, what additional information are we going to get? I can't see any.
It's not necessarily additional information, it's another voter. We've got one who's sitting out, plus we have one that's absent. That's the biggest reason.
Well, let me ask this question. Is there anybody else here that would be inclined to vote against making this an R3?
That would be the whole triangle?
Yeah.
I don't have.
I mean, if we can come to a conclusion tonight, I'd like to get this over with. I can't make a motion while his motion's on the floor, except that I can move to amend it that we table that motion to continue this until after we hear a motion about whether to accept this with the members we got here or not. Then if we can't come to a conclusion, then we can go back to his motion.
Daryl, I mean,
It's
Dennis,
complicated, but
Dennis,
there's a motion on the floor.
Dennis.
Either,
and
I'll
Philip.
rescind the motion then. How's that?
Okay,
You,
let's do that.
okay, motions are rescinded. Go, Daryl.
I'll move that
How
we
about 2 minutes?
allow to make this, that we grant, forward a favorable recommendation to make this an R3 area for this thing.
Thank you. Do we have a second to Daryl's motion to make this an R3?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to make the entire triangle R3. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Opposed?
Okay. Now make your motion.
So it's 4 and it passes in.
No, oh, 4. out of
4.
7, it passes. Okay.
That's what
Motion
that's the reason
passed.
I brought it up. In case there was 2, then it would be,
Yeah,
like to have one more vote.
Oh,
go.
okay.
Next order of business is any new business? Any public comment? We could discuss violations. Can we do each one quickly?
Yes, so I talked to Merrill Grain this week. They were, and Rob's returning to the meeting. They were under the impression that Rob Sieg was doing their building application to the state. Rob was doing their septic application to the state, so they were just confused. I got it all cleared up, so now they're going to have an actual architect send their application to the state, so they're making progress. So that's good. Keith Turner, this one I'd like to ask you guys if we can take them off of our violation list, because I don't believe it, I mean, personally, the way I'm looking at it, I don't think it should be their responsibility to have this violation on them because they purchased the property in 2020 and the trailer that didn't have a building permit was placed on the property in 2017. And I just want to know what you guys want to do, but it's my belief that they inherited that. And it should just be grandfathered in. They did not put the trailer on their own, on the
Are
property.
they gonna make an effort to make it comply? You said they're gonna have an architect?
I was talking about Merrill. I've moved on to Keith Turner
Oh, the second?
sorry. So they have a trailer on their property that does not have a building permit, but they purchased the property in 2020 with that trailer already on it. They did not put the trailer on it.
Does it have a proper septic system?
It's not being used as a dwelling.
It's not being used as a dwelling.
Let the minutes show that I'm not taking part in this discussion about this one.
About this particular one?
Yeah, I have to
Okay.
recluse myself on this one too.
There's no intentions of using the trailer. They bought it to build on. Is that their intentions?
No, they have the property and the trailer's just there, and I think they maybe use it to hold storage or something, but they don't live in it. No one lives in it.
How did this come up as a home built without a permit then if it was a trailer?
The assessors have a new software, or I think they have Eagle View or something. They can see houses on properties and know if they don't have permits or not. This was in a stack of them that they've given to me. They've given us more since then, but Kurt and I, the building inspector, thought we would deal with all of these first prior to dealing with all 10 of the new ones that they've given us.
Could we ask for a written statement from them saying they have no intentions without updating all this?
I think that would be fair. Is that what you would like for me to ask them?
Yeah,
Okay.
ask them. I would think so. Ask them, and if they write a statement saying if they tend to live on the property, it gets into compliance.
Okay. Moving on to Sam Enterprises, Point Property LLC, and Ida Dye and Colt Markham. All of these also from the assessors, also houses without permits. They're receiving letters from me saying exactly what they need to do, exactly all the items they need for them to be in compliance. So hopefully I'll hear from them soon. I just sent Sam Enterprises and Point Property LLC a certified letter. Kurt has been speaking with Ida Dye on the phone, and Colt Markham has been working with Tim in the health department to get his corrected. Moving on to Patricia Grimes, Reednor, Lecker, and the Silver Creek residents. This week, I have gotten approval from the auditors to transfer funds. So now we have money to litigate all of those, hopefully.
We filed on those, but we filed and left it status quo, if you guys recall, not to proceed, but now funding's there. If you guys would like to proceed, we can move to the next step.
I will say, it may be likely in the future. I don't know how often you need money for this type of thing. I really don't know, but it may be required for me to ask the council for more money for this, unless I have money in other budget lines to move, which I might.
Is there any response from the litigation? No response?
No response to me, and then Mo.
Then I think
I would
Go to
think we
council.
go ahead and let the litigation go on.
I make a motion that we move forward with litigation as
Yeah.
approves, approves,
if,
since the funding's in place.
if more funding is needed, you need to go to
Right.
council.
And they did not raise our budget this year, so I think, I think we have a good case for that if we do end up needing more. The next one, Sturwald has not come in for a building permit. He came to see the board last fall or summer, I believe, and you guys allowed him to come in for a building permit on his property, even though it's still in violation, but he has not come in and done that.
I believe there was a 6-month time period or something like that stipulated.
We
Wasn't
might
there?
be towards the end of that. If that's the case, I will check the minutes.
Thought there was a timeline.
Okay. Well, he has not come in yet, so that's my update on that. And then Sizemore, again, significantly cleaner, still has a few items to remove, but substantially better than it was in the beginning. So those are all my updates.
Do we need to have a proper vote for litigation? Or are we good with what we did?
I made a motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say, any other discussion? Daryl? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
They can't sit in it.
Can you refresh my understanding on what's going to be done with the Sturwald
Sturwell,
situation?
all I know right now is he has not come in for a building permit. But if there was some talk of a 6-month timeline, I'll go back in the minutes, make sure that was discussed. And then if he's past the 6-month timeline, what would you guys like me, how would you like me to proceed with that?
So that will be on you then, correct? You're going to do that? Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, just to refresh you, he was in violation for vehicles that weren't operable, and he was intending to build a building to put that stuff in, so
Yeah,
he'd be compliant. So I think that's why we put a timeline on it.
and the reason I'm asking is because people have approached me on that too. There was some
How
concern
should,
about what was going on, how he left Dearborn County and this and that. So yes, that would be very good to follow up on that. Thank
how
you.
should I proceed if the 6 months has passed? He can't put a building up there anymore? Is that the consensus?
He's in violation, I believe.
Yeah.
He goes back on the violation list.
He's been on the
Is
violation.
is that what was in the minutes then?
I can't confirm that right now.
I was actually here, but I don't remember that.
I don't remember right now.
I would think he'd have to come back to the board to figure out what he does from there, but be
Okay.
back on violations, what I would think.
Would you like
Could
for
end
me
up
to
in
ask him
litigation.
to come to the next meeting if that 6 months has passed?
I would think
Okay,
so.
I can do that.
I know the neighbors aren't happy, all the stuff that's going on back there, so give him an opportunity to help himself, but he's not doing it.
Yes, because he did state that the reason he wanted to build this to begin with was to store all the junk that he had. So, yes.
I'm ready to adjourn. We'll do anything else?
Anything else to come before this board?
I move to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
I second it.
Seconded? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, like sign. We're adjourned. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and caring enough to be part of your government. Thank you a lot.
Reason for Family Dollar was done in 22. I was part of the board when that happened.
Okay,
You weren't.
I wasn't here then, so.
But it was approved.
it
Mr.
looked-
Wanshcroft is the one that asked for that reason. It was his property at the time. And they did that before he sold it to the person that earned Family Dollar. Thank you, Daryl.
Oh, hey,
It's the first step.
when you get me a bill together for dads out there, I'll get you paid as soon as I get a bill.
Everything the way you thought.
Everything, yeah, it's perfect. You guys did a great job. Your boys did, or whoever was out, Zach, whoever was out. Yeah, I had something to do in the morning and I got over there in the afternoon. They were already gone. But yeah, I walked it, and it's great. That's perfect.
Turn in a report, and she does her thing.
Yeah, well, whenever, the money's coming as soon as we get a bill. That's,
No problem. Thank you. You gotta address. Yeah, I go there, they're worthless, I need to go. And then one garage is close to the property line too.
Beyond that,
Right there, it's sticking. So right here, it's sticking over.
yeah. All of that. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we said. Yeah, that's coming next. Any project planning on. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then he's got. That's to me is great. Yeah, he wants all of that now.
Yeah, they couldn't do it on the reason.
He's playing off that.
that would be good for me.
You know, grandma was here.
There's gonna be at least three.
Our daughter. Not the only one.
Is there anybody?
At work, at least. At work, that's what work, I think, my husband.
Okay. The United States of America. Into the republic.
I don't.
Which is stands.
That's, we had to address this first.
Indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
We're trying to fix this.
Yeah, I know.
Can we do?
The first item on our agenda tonight is a roll call. Robert Braun,
Here.
Daryl Kramer,
Present.
Paula Keller, present, Terry Duffy,
Here.
Tom Wadkey,
Here.
Jeff Wessling, Caitlin Sturworth.
Here.
The next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Did everyone receive the minutes and had a chance to review them?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? What are you trying to tell me, Caitlin?
I did not give Daryl a binder, but I have emailed the minutes out.
Terry will
Okay.
share his.
Oh,
We can be cooperative.
okay, thank you so much.
It's the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first item, I've gotten confused about what's been continued and, okay, the first item on our agenda is being continued to March. The second item on our agenda is a continuation of a conditional use application 121720024-CU-02. Conditional use application for antenna colo without increasing size of tower and footprint of the existing tower site. This is for parcel number 24-13-06-400-001.000-022. And this has been passed on to us with a favorable recommendation from the APC with a contingency that they must provide an engineered stamp drawing to Caitlin. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think we were all here to hear the presentation made to the APC. Is that correct? And are all the notifications in order, Caitlin?
Yes, they are.
Is the applicant still here for this one?
Yes, yes.
Are there any questions from the board?
Go ahead, man.
Okay. No comments from the public?
Any comments from the public?
So,
Any additional comments from the applicant?
so do we want to grant, how do I want to word this motion?
Well, I
I
can't
wanna-
tell you how to word your motion, Daryl, but we basically, the APC has put a contingency that they have to provide an engineered stamp drawing and given us a favorable recommendation.
And so do we have to pass it on to the commissioners with a favor?
No, this is a conditional use. The buck stops here. We have to approve or deny the conditional use. If we approve it, that contingency the APC put on them would still carry forward.
I will move that we approve the conditional use with the stipulation that there's an engineer's stamp on the structure of the building. That's the only contingency.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Daryl has moved and Tom has seconded to approve the conditional use with the APC condition that the engineered stamp drawing is provided to Caitlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That conditional use is granted. The next conditional use application was continued to March. Am I correct? We can skip right by that one. The next one has been scratched off. The next one we have is a petition for variance, number 01222025-V-01. An application for variance for lot to be less than 10,000 square feet, which is 10,000 square feet required for an R3 zone. This is for parcels number 24-17-32-400-016.000-021 and 24-17-32-300-009.001-021. And this is on West Street in New Trenton. And Gunner.
Hello, my name's Gunnar Sig. I'm with Sig Surveying, representing the Gunter family here on the north side of this property. So as we explained for the rezone, this is a property that's in third interest between three different families for the Hearst family, Gunter family, and the, what's the last family? The Beard family, yeah. So the purpose of the variance here is so they can split up this property at the north end with the R3 zone and be less than 10,000 square feet. So the minimum lot size for R3 zone that we can do is 10,000 square feet, and we can't get that with what they own on the north side there for the Gunters. So that's all we're proposing with this split. We're trying to stay 6 feet off their garage, which is the minimum setback in R3. They would have to remove their garage there, which they plan on doing. And that would leave the Gunters with their third interest, and they would own 100% of that property up there. So then it'd be between the Beards and the Hearst would own that south end, and they plan to split that in the future. So right now, for the variance, the only request is the 10,000 square feet. We can't meet that because of where they've built their homes previously. Just if we were to, it'd have to go through where that trailer is to get 10,000 square feet.
So right now, we're only considering this lot that's the tip of this parcel.
Yes.
I know you probably haven't surveyed or to know where they want to split it, but your best guess as a surveyor, would those other two lots meet the 10,000 square feet?
Yes, they could meet it easily, and this is 1.6 acres for the total property, so that would I'm not sure exactly how many acres, 10,000 square feet is off the top of my head, but
Yeah, me neither.
they would have plenty of property to be able to split without getting a variance in the future.
Without the other two needing a variance. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board?
So just to be clear, you're dividing this up for 1/3 interest, but you're only dividing it into 2 parcels.
At this point, yes. And we've talked with the Hearst and Beard family about splitting up their, it would be half interest after that. And getting their dividing line. That way it's 3 separate people instead of 3 different families owning one parcel. So yeah, right now it's just getting one done at a time. That's all we can do.
Okay, so this is, in terms of the way this property is occupied, it's kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, it's a non-compliant property the way it is.
Yeah,
and-
so there's a house that's coming down and a garage that's coming down, right? One's on a border and the other is a building that's not fit for habitation. Is that the way you've described it?
That's what we've been told, yes.
Okay.
So that's how we've labeled it.
All right.
This property was granted a variance back in 1977. And this is what allowed them to even have 3 homes on one property. And with that being granted, they were supposed to come back every year for the board to permit them to even be able to do this. And since then, they've never came back. So it's not in compliance right now. We're just trying to get it within compliance by doing this the best we can, yeah.
This house on this for the board, house is on the northern end. Is it just an existing non-conforming use then? Is that what we would say if they split it up like this? Because you have non-conforming lot areas and widths prior to lot record. I mean, it stays as it is. Variance wouldn't be needed, right? Unless they want to define lot lines, and then this is a very difficult one to accept because down the road that things will change and you've got a variance for an 8,000 square foot lot up there, which was mentioned also by Ms. Beard, I believe, that she's planning to put 2 more houses in the south end of this lot. All right. You're gonna end up with 4 houses in this property.
3.
I'd like to add something about the minimum land area. So I think we're at 8,600 square feet, something like that, on what we're proposing. Not quite 10,000, but it's the best we can do how the buildings are configured. Rather than tearing down a building and moving a building, something like that. So the remainder part, they do want to divide. They have ample acreage to be able to do multiple divisions. Some of the buildings are going to come down. That's what they've been telling us, but that's something that we have to work on in the future. During the APC hearing, I was listening. There's at least 4 or 5 parcels in the town of New Trenton that are less than 10,000 square feet. So you're not doing something new here. This has been done before. Corner of Walnut Street at New Trenton Hill, there's 2 parcels that are extremely small. They're like 60 by 70. It's not even close to 10,000. So you're not stepping out of something, outside of something that somebody else has done before. So, and we can control setbacks on new parcel lines so that things are compliant where the buildings are going to stay or remain. But where the existing parcel lines are, we can't control that. If there's encroachments or something within the setback, just, we can't do anything about that. The boundary line is what it is.
Yeah, but the owners can do something about.
Well, they could
the
remove
shed, the dog kennel and a
Yeah,
shed.
yeah, they could remove that. And I'm guessing that they probably would do something if they're going to build new homes. You know, this is stuff that's
Probably
been,
do something.
well,
So Rob, how many residences are on this piece of property right now?
Technically three, there's three addresses.
Okay,
There's two that are livable, one that's not.
okay. And there's a plan for putting more residences?
I know as of right now, there's the one to the north, which is the immediate need. That's why we're here. And then number two is the trailer right adjacent to it. There's been discussion about building another home, Sherry Beard and her husband. And I think Mr. Hurst might do one too. I don't know if the trailer is going to remain, but there's enough land area there that can be configured to get 3 to 4 lots out of this whole property, and the rest of them will be compliant, except for the piece on the north, just because of how the trailer's in close proximity, and you'd either have to move that trailer or tear it down, one of the two.
How old is the trailer? Do you know? Then. Okay. If we split this lot, I'm trying to visualize what's here. There's a trailer that's marked to the south of the split line. And there's a house that's marked as not livable that's north of the split line, but I hear that there's 3 homes on this
The
property.
house north of the split line is not the unlivable house. The unlivable one's on the south end. And it's like an underground house.
Okay, so
So
the
the
house,
one to
the
the
house
north-
that's on the north end would stay,
Yes.
and the house that's just south of, or the trailer that's just south of the line would stay, and the other house would go away, right?
You're saying the house south of the trailer?
Yeah, the unlivable house would go away, right?
That's what the plan is right now, yes. I mean,
Okay.
I don't believe anybody's living there right now. They might be able to answer that. The owners might be able to, but from what I know, I don't believe anybody's living there.
Well,
I can't tell you 100%.
if we're going to approve this based on 2 lots, I'd like to get it squared away. So, are we ready for a motion, you think? Or,
Are there any comments from the public?
okay.
Ken Onstrath, Harrison Sand and Gravel neighbor. I'm still unclear about, and would feel more comfortable if I knew the resolution of the remaining acreage, how it was going to be divided, and how many, theoretically, if you had 10,000 square foot minimum lots, you could put 6, 8 more lots in there. And that would be maybe stretching the septic systems and other setbacks. And then as a procedural matter, this is not zoned R3 until the commissioners do it. So it may be somewhat premature to grant a variance on a parcel that is still A2.
Carol.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So while he was talking, I asked Miss Beard, Sherry Beard, the structure to the south that we're saying is unlivable. It's essentially a foundation. I think it might have been finished one time in the basement. Foundation part of it has a flat roof with a rubber roof over it. So that's how that structure's been lived in. It's currently not being lived in at all. It's unlivable. Nobody lives there. As far as the acreage that's there, 10,000 square feet, there's no rule or anything about minimum land area in order to be able to have septic. You have to be able to get your structure plus enough space to be able to have a septic. That comes from state code. We had the property to the north tested. It tested very well. Scott Nickel, a soil scientist, tested it. He said some of the best soil that he's tested in a long time. This whole area is going to be pretty much the same. So to say that you can't get another septic approved, that's not entirely true. Mr. Gunner had his septic tank inspected by Patriot, which is out of Connorsville. They said it's functional, but he's wanting to put a new one in just to make certain everything's right for the home that's there. The existing trailer has an existing septic on it. It's functional as far as we know. I had Mike Gunner, which is not related at all. He's a Gunner family from over in Ripley County. They do installations of septic systems all the time. He said he could get all kinds of sand line systems, which are very small footprint, elevated sand line mounds that are about 72 feet long by 14 feet wide. So this is a fantastic site to do something like that. Terrain's great, the soil's great. So I don't believe that to be a case or an issue at all. Because he said, I asked him, I said, can you at least say there's going to be 3 new ones? And he said, yes, I can definitely get 3 new sites in here. So I don't know if that helps you any or not. But that's some of the legwork we did in order to try to prepare this and have it ready so that if you did have questions about future divisions, we could do. And I realize the variance is being requested before the rezone is granted by the commissioners, which that could be on the commissioners table next week. Because they do have a meeting next week. Their agenda goes out Friday. So that could be on the table. What we would like to do is if this board can find it, to grant a conditional variance pending the rezone. That way we don't have to come back to this again. That's my request.
I see a problem with that the buildings need to be raised before we continue on. The garage that the line is currently going to go through. We got encroachments down there on the other part of the property down there. I think those need to be taken care of, and that can we come to an agreement with them that those encroachments will be taken care of before we split the property or not?
The, which encroachments are you talking? Are you talking about the garage?
It says a shed and a dog kennel and a shed.
Dog kennel's gone already. The ones on the gravel pit one,
Yeah, there's 3 of them right here that crosses over into Mr. Wanstraugh's property.
these 3.
Correct.
Well, we can knock those down tomorrow if you want.
And then the garage up at the.
This
property
one
line.
here, we were gonna wait until, the encroachment between the trailer and the garage, that little garage there. We need time to get it cleaned out and we're agreement, we're family and cousins. We do want to take it down. And we wanted to give that so they can meet the setback for their garage existing, the 6 feet. But the little encroachments on the south end, those can be taken down without any problem at all.
Is the corner of that garage that's down there next to those 3, is it right on the line or is it?
The garage between the trailer and is that the one you're talking?
Garage down there near the shed and the dog kennel.
But the one that's touching?
Looks like it's 1 foot from the line, but not over.
Yeah.
We located that corner. It's 1 foot from the line, but not over. It's within setback. Like I said, we can't control the setbacks that's already existing. Somebody put it there with It probably was never checked when it was built, or was there even?
And the little ones that are sticking out over could definitely be taken out real easy. The corner there of that garage probably can too. I'd have to look at it and see. I know they have some things in storage that need to be gotten rid of, but he does want to take that down as soon as possible, really.
Well, you say you'll take them 3 down plus the garage where the split is up there.
Well, I'd like some time on that one. I mean,
Well,
not,
that's
not
taken
forever.
down sometime. You can't have your neighbor's yard going right through your garage.
Yeah, I understand that. They're still working on it. If they were to need it out of their way, we would of course do that, but we need that time to get the stuff out of it. And we didn't want to do it unless we knew we were going to be able to move forward with what we're trying to accomplish to fix it. We didn't want to knock anything down until we had some answers on what we would be able to do to move forward. Our goal is to get it all cleaned up and make it pretty. So we want to get everything in compliance, and there is room, and we're family, and we're all working together to try to do that. It should have been done years ago, but we were through some deaths in the family. This is what we were left to deal with, and that's what we're trying to do. You have
I'm
anything?
inclined to not vote for this unless I have some guarantee that the 2 sheds and the dog kennels are taken off of the neighbor's property.
Enough.
We can guarantee that. Like I said, those can be taken down this week.
Those, I'll let you guys decide what you want to do with that condition.
Any other questions from the board?
Ready for a motion?
I'll entertain a motion if you got one.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve this variance contingent upon the commissioners completing the rezone. Contingent upon the demolition of all of the structures. Well, let's not say all the structures. Let's see, we have a garage, we have an unlivable house, we have a kennel, we have a shed.
2 sheds.
2 sheds, and we have another shed. So there are 5 structures overall that need to be modified, need to be taken care of either because they're unlivable on a boundary or encroaching on other properties. Is that correct? Does that sound right? And I believe that we can set a deadline on those, and that the continuation of the variance will be conditioned on that demolition schedule being met. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's correct.
Okay, so can you have all that done in 6 months? Well, in that case, we shouldn't have a problem.
I'm not clear on exactly which ones. You're talking the ones going over on
It's the 3 structures that are on the west side, which is a shed, a kennel, and another shed, I think. And then there is a garage that's on the boundary line.
This structure, and this structure.
The garage that's on the boundary line.
On the new
I can't-
boundary line,
I
Huh?
can't tear
the
that.
new boundary line you're speaking
Yeah.
of, yeah.
I don't think
this
I can
one.
get that in 6
That
months.
needs to go away. And then the unlivable structure
No, no, not yet.
So
is to be it's
Those
marked
aren't
on here
hurting
to be
anybody.
raised.
the,
That's packed with stuff, and then when we're doing stuff, we might need it.
the garage, they need time to get cleared out.
He's calling this a garage. That's not.
No,
mar-
you're-
Oh, okay.
He's talking about the one up
Yeah.
there with the boundary line.
That's a long time.
That's going through for part of Tom's property.
Mhm.
So how long do you think you need to do that?
Mm.
I don't know what, I can't say.
Can we do we have to have that as part of it right now?
Well, they want to give you 6 months.
Oh, 6 months to get it down, but we don't have to wait 6 months to get this taken care of.
Kind of what they're saying. They're allowing you 6
Yes.
months
We're gonna do this and we have 6 months to get this
to
down.
get that taken care of.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're not compliant.
Okay.
So all 5 things will be gone?
Now, the one building that says to be raised is not close to any boundary line, not encroaching or anything like that. When we put this together, I'm just finding this out from Sherry now. One of the homes that they built on there is they want to use that foundation. Not use it as a place to live in. They want to actually build a house, a structure on it. They had somebody look at it.
Yeah,
And said that it's salvageable.
Okay,
But it has to, it's gonna have to go through building for
Right.
permitting. And they should be able to utilize that foundation rather than.
how long's that been
foundation.
there?
I'm sorry.
How long has that been there?
Uh, probably since the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's a good solid basement foundation.
Okay, so let's back off a little bit here. We have the garage that's on the proposed new boundary line. And then we have the 3 little structures that are encroachments. Is that correct? So there are 4 of those. Is that right, Rob?
Correct. You got 3 small structures that's encroaching and then you got the garage that. they
Okay,
kind
so
of empty out.
let's say that the 3 small structures plus the garage, those 4 things need to be gone in 6 months.
I think we should make the three small structures gone before the split happens.
She's saying she can do that.
Because it won't happen otherwise.
It will. I mean, if we can revoke the variance if the terms aren't met.
I see Daryl's point because once a split happens, that won't be her property.
It would clean
Make
things
a
up with
motion,
Mr.
Darryl.
Onstraw too, to get their
Everything
stuff
you were
off his
saying there,
property.
Except that the timeline for the 2 sheds and the dog kennel, those have to be done before the split can happen.
We're voting on the split. Make a motion.
Terry's motion has died for lack of a second.
Thank you.
Just a,
I'll move that we give a favorable recommendation.
no, we're approving. This is no recommendations
Okay.
here.
We approve it as long as the shed, the dog kennel and the shed are gone before the split is recorded.
Question. How about the upper garage, the line goes, the property line goes right through? Not.
And that garage.
Does seem odd.
Pardon me?
The upper garage
Excuse me, can you use the microphone, please?
split right through.
Sir, could you use the microphone, please? We have people listening on Zoom. Thank you.
It doesn't bother me, but right there on the split line, there's a building.
They're gonna give 6 months for that.
So
6 months after the split or 6 months to do the split after,
Get it done.
and then the split happens afterwards.
Daryl, did you finish your motion?
I'm
Can you
I'm
repeat
having
it for me,
brain
please?
salad today, so pardon me a little bit here. To Mr. Wanstraw's point there, I moved that all 4 of these buildings, or whatever they are, dog kennel, shed, and garage, be raised before the split is recorded
Are you moving
with
to
a
approve?
favorable
Okay.
No, you're approving
approval
And rezone.
And the
the commission.
reason.
and continue.
and a rezone. Well, the rezone's already done.
No, it's not. The commissioners have to approve that rezone.
Okay, on the condition that the commissioners do the rezone. I should have let Terry done that.
And before we get out of here, make sure you know all the structures, put circles on them or something so that everybody knows what.
Caitlin.
Sorry, Daryl, you moved to remove the 3 sheds and the dog kennel prior to the split being done. Are you also, along with what Terry was moving earlier, 6 months to remove the garage?
I think he said three sheds. I think he said a garage and 2 sheds.
I see. So all the
Dog kennel.
structures are to be removed prior to the split in your motion? I'm sorry, Daryl.
Is there a second to Daryl's motion?
Oh, wait a minute. I'd like to hear his motion read back.
I just think it's gonna die for lack of a second.
I have a question too.
Okay,
Before it dies. There are 2 garages. One of them is split in, not in half,
Can-
but almost in half by the property line. The other one is an encroachment on
I have a request.
it is not an encroachment.
I have a request. Rob, can you come up here and please number the buildings on one of these drawings so that we can all be in agreement on what we're talking about?
For the south shed, number 1. Next building north, it's over the line approaching is number 2.
Dog
Next,
kennel.
The dog kennel. The third one to the north is number 3. Jerry's saying they can take those down to meeting.
Okay.
No problems. Number 4 is the garage where the new division is proposed. They need 6 months to get their contents out, get it placed somewhere else, then they can take this down.
Okay.
Those are the 4 structures that I think we're all talking about that need to be taken care of, so. We have the survey done and ready to go. It can be filed as soon as the rezone variance is granted.
Yes, I believe that's what,
No transfer of land can occur until the deed is filed. You got it.
I think that's Caitlin, please. Thank you, Rob.
Does that make
I
sense?
think we were all getting confused on which shed was which and garage was.
Setback on the garage between number 1 and 2? Is that?
The garage is not over the line, it's within 1 foot of the line.
Yeah, but the setback, is it?
I can't control that. It's
So
an
we have
existing
to
structure.
accept
I
that?
can't fix a setback that already exists that's encroaching into it. Encroaches in the setback, but not over a boundary line. I can control new boundary lines, but not old ones.
We can make it as good as we can make it, but we can't make it better.
So having those buildings numbered, you want to try your motion again, Terry?
Okay. I make a motion, we approve this variance contingent upon the commissioners agreeing to the rezone, contingent upon the buildings labeled on the drawing. That will become part of the record, will it? Okay. Which will include 3 small buildings on the west side plus a garage on the new dividing line. The first 3 to be demolished before the split can be recorded, and the garage on the dividing line to be demolished within 6 months. And I'd like to put Rob or the owner, whoever, Gunner, we've been told that this structure to be raised, the foundation is now going to be salvaged.
We'll change that later.
And will that then receive some sort of inspection?
The building inspect will require at least a letter from whoever inspected it. He'll require something, yes.
Okay. And receipt of a satisfactory inspection on the existing foundation. I think that covers it, doesn't it?
I think you covered it.
I'll second.
Caitlin, did you get all that?
Yes.
And Daryl, have you seconded that motion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We got there. Find my agenda again.
Oh.
Are there any other comments or issues to be addressed by the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Can I ask one thing?
You sure can, Rob.
This is relative to the prior case that we had last month that we tabled. And this is specifically a question for our board attorney. There was a lot of talk about certain individuals having to recuse themselves from that case because of their husband, well, specifically Paula, her husband's affiliation with the financial planner, the applicant. I don't know how that becomes an issue for her to recuse
No,
herself. I'd like to retain you as a person on the board when we come
Okay.
back to
I
the,
want to clear up what the recusal is for. It is not because of Jeff's affiliation with the financial planning company. It is Jeff has done work, extensive work, a lot of work for Austin Ford.
Mhm. I've done work for you as well. I've done work for Terry. I've done work for Daryl, done work for Bob. So if you want to go down that slippery slope, it's going to get all you off the board for that hearing. I've done work for all of you. So I'm just saying you shouldn't recuse yourself, and it would happen also
But
in the
Rob,
area plan as well.
The difference is that you've done work for me. I've paid you, not you paying me. That's the difference. If you come before this board and I'm hearing something that you are bringing to the board,
Mhm.
I have paid you to do work. That's not anything in my financial interest. In this matter, Austin Ford is coming before the board. He has provided financial income to my household.
I think we're the applicant though. I think SIG Surveying is the applicant. In this case, I believe that's how we set it up.
Austin Ford is a property owner.
Okay, I'm just trying to question how this
I
all
mean,
works.
am I right, Jeff, that
If there's a fiscal interest whatsoever and you feel uncomfortable with it, that's not a close call. It's different between somebody doing work for them, a few years ago or doing some type of work. If you're currently in a financial relationship or you're in some type of financial relationship that's reasonable in time, you should get off of it.
So is it
And
work
she's
for
saying,
construction or is it for financial purposes? That he's currently managing money? I guess
it's not
not to get
about
in your
the financial
business.
management part of the business. It's Austin. If you ask Austin Ford who he's going to hire to paint something he builds at that campground, he's going to tell you Jeff Batchelor.
Right.
And that's why I can't hear that matter. Is because I don't want it on record that I approved something knowing that, oh, yeah, and he's going to build stuff and Jeff's going to make money.
Okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's very prudent. And I think if we did a lot more things like that, government would run.
Just trying to retain as many board members as we can. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but apparently it is. Thank you.
If there are no other matters to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Braun has moved. Mr. Watke has seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, folks. Have a safe trip home.